going on, guys? This video is gonna have so much sauce coming from a multi-six-figure coach on sales. We're about to go head to the gym right now, and I'll be honest, I didn't like the other intro that I filmed inside of the house. It's a bit dark, so we decided to film it again here. But guys, if you have been struggling with sales or content or any aspect of your business, I can assure you, if you stick through and watch this whole video to the end, not only is your business going to improve, you're going to be able to close more deals, but you'll actually be able to improve every other part of your life. Because if you get better at sales, you can get better at content because your overall communication gets better. But yeah, guys, without further ado, I'm going to stop talking, enjoy the video, see you on the other side. Sales psychology, right? This is kind of like the framework from like the first DM to closing a sale. So you guys already know me. It's like understanding human psychology behind every step. So it's like really big on human behavior. So biggest thing is like the sales journey. Obviously, you guys know there's like DM setting, which is like talking to these people in the DMs. Then it's kind of like discovery, where you're talking like surface level pain, social pain, and then you're diving deeper with like emotional pain. After that, you guys know from their current situation, you go into like their future goals. So this is like the identity shift. So you're kind of painting the picture to show these guys who they can become. And there's something called future pacing, where you kind of make the cost of inaction feel like real. So this is where it's like we ask those, like, let's say a consequence question of like, what happens if they don't make these changes? And like, what will happen if they continue in this journey for the next 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years? Like it's a very popular question as well, because people make decisions based on their current pain and they don't make decisions on that, but people change based off their current pain and future pain. But then after that, you guys know we're closing and handling. So we're removing the fear and we're helping them decide kind of from where they're coming from. So how I like to structure it is we're never selling these people. We're just helping them buy. So a lot of the times, like if we get an objection on call, we think like it's an issue, but a lot of the time, like it's an issue with us. But a lot of the times it's actually an issue with like the prospect themselves. Like what I always tell everyone is like never listen to what the prospect is telling you, but listen to what they mean by what they're telling you. So I want to actually tell you guys something that's huge, right? Let's say if you guys had like a girlfriend in the past, or you talked to a girl, and let's say you guys got into an argument and you asked like the partner, how are you? And she's like, I'm fine. You guys can see by that tonality, she's saying I'm fine, but she's like, oh, I'm fine. So you can obviously tell that she's not fine just off that tonality. So that's why when I say not to listen to what the prospect is telling you, but what they mean by what they're telling you. For example, in sales specifically, if they're like, oh man, that's too expensive. Yeah, expensive compared to what? Because what's also expensive is like, let's say this person who's overweight or who is skinny and is getting bullied by their friends and rejected by females. That's also pretty expensive. So that's how you guys want to paint that as well. And that's how you want to listen to what they are saying, or what they mean by what they're saying, sorry, but not what they're saying, right? So a lot of these people, they just buy into a transformation, right? How I like to say it is like the sales call is basically a transfer of self-belief. Whoever believes more is going to win. And a lot of the times I see it from like, honestly, everyone that I coach, it's happened a lot, especially like the more the beginner-based guys. You guys kind of let the prospects, or like, let's say someone on the DMs, believe in their own situation and their own objections more than you believe in your product. So that's a huge issue. A lot of us need to sell ourselves even harder, because if they don't make a change today, if they don't book a call with us today, their life is genuinely going to be ruined for the worse, right? That's how I like to think about it, because humans rarely change. So that's how I like to look at it. And this is kind of like the urgency you guys should want, and make them like that same fire you guys have should be under your prospects as well. So basically like the DM framework, right? Because I know a lot of us get this a bit confused. Again, it's current situation, desired outcome, their why, and then you're just qualifying and setting the call. Super simple. Current situation is just mapping out where they are at right now. 100 pounds, underweight, skinny, whatever, etc. They want to bulk up, whatever it may be. That's number two, what they actually want to achieve. They want to put on 20 pounds of lean muscle, etc., right? But the number one and the number two always start with current situation, with their pain and first. A lot of us mix it up. We mix it together, or we start completely wrong. Always start off with the pain first, and then that's when you shift their identity and get their why, and like you double down on their commitment. But with that, right now it's kind of like, let's say you get them on the sales calls, you book them there. Um, there's a lot of different levels of pain, and a lot of us kind of go past it. This is why we don't close. This is why in our content as well, this is why in DMs people don't actually make changes, because we often just let surface level pain pass by. So let's say you guys are making a video. When you make a video, this is correlated with sales too, because if your sales get better, your content is also going to get better, because if you're able to communicate better, that'll actually play a role in your content. So if someone is like, yeah, man, I want to lose fat. Like, yeah, Chris, I want to lose fat. Okay, good, dope, bro. And then you just continue. That there's like nothing, it's like very weak. It's very fragile. That's not a reason why someone would change. But then you take that a level deeper, social pain. Oh, my friends bully me. My friends flick my titties because I'm overweight. Then it's a bit deeper. Then you want to double down. Okay. And your friends doing that to you. Like, how does that make you feel? I did a lot of key things there. Tonality, spoke a little bit slower, deeper voice. And with that too, I double down on the emotional side. Oh man, honestly, it makes me feel like powerless. So emotional pain is going to create that urgency, like that shame, that embarrassment. These are the emotions that forces someone to act now compared to later on. And then after that, when you go into like the emotional pain and they actually say it out loud, they're basically selling themselves. They're saying, man, like, I feel powerless. They're basically just selling themselves. They're like, yo, like, they need your help. And pain is going to fuel commitment through objections. So the deeper of the pain you uncover, the deeper the conversation, the easier it is for you to handle objections, the easier it is for you to actually help them out, because you actually know the problem. But a lot of us kind of get like the surface level pain, or just even like a little bit lower than that, maybe like a social level pain. We don't actually see how that affects the person, which is why we don't close. Because I want to tell you guys one thing. The reason why any single human in this world will make a change roots from some level of insecurity, right? Why doesn't someone want to stay fat? Why don't they want to stay skinny or skinny fat? Because they don't like it, right? It's the same thing on, let's say, if you're broke or if you want to make more money. Why do you want to make more money? Why don't you stay where you're at? Because you don't like it. At some level, whether we like it or not, it's some level of insecurity. So I kind of want to go over like into identity shift and future pacing too. So identity shift basically is just getting the prospect to define who they want to become, not just what they want to achieve, and making them step into that version of themselves. For example, in the DMs, I have it in the framework. Like, if you could recreate a new version of yourself in 16 weeks, what does that person look like? What does he act like? Like, how would he feel on a day-by-day basis? Why does this work, though? Like, the brain emotionally is going to identify this with his future self. So you're shifting their identity from, let's say they're 50 pounds overweight, to someone who's lost the 15 pounds, let's say 4 months from now, way more confident, getting more women. And this is a person that can be a buyer. You see, you guys have to like nurture this person. Even while you're on the call, you're just reframing beliefs. So I always say it again. If you get better at sales, your content will get better. Because if you're able to reframe someone's belief on a call, you can do the same thing on your content. And your content is not one-dimensional like sales, where it's one-to-one. Your content can be seen by thousands of people, millions of people. Now, without it, the brain just defaults to, oh, it's not really worth the risk. It's not really that important for them. Now, future pacing is basically like, how do we explain? Like time traveling, right? You tell them, like, so step into the shoes for a second of like that person who lost the 50 pounds. Like, what would actually be different on the day-to-day life? Like, from where you are now to then. This is them actually stepping into those shoes and telling you what will be different. Yeah, I mean, bro, I'd be way more confident. I'd probably have a girlfriend. I'd probably wouldn't be getting bullied. Now, what I like to do after that is I ask them I do the complete opposite. Okay, man. And then in your eyes, like, what happens then if for whatever reason, like, nothing changes? Like, what do you think happens in the next 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, even 2 years? if nothing changes? Oh man, I mean, probably be regretful, still be in the same spot, etc., etc. So this is what's called a contrast effect. We're showing basically a side by side of two different ways they can go down, two different routes, and all this does is amplify the emotional gap, right? So their brain is gonna feel how both different routes can go on, to where if they don't make a change, how that feels, which is regretful, nothing changing, to where if they do make a change, losing the 50 pounds. Now, this is clear, right? It's not in the middle. The middle way is like when they get objections and all this, and they're stuck between wanting to do it and not wanting to do it. This is the middle way. So your goal is to get them from the middle to just one side. Either they're not buying or they're buying, right? That's how I like to do it. I don't like that in between shit, right? I like a yes or a no, straight up. That's how it should be. Now, a lot of the times, losses feel 2 times more painful than gains feel good. So you guys' goal should be to show these people that inaction is more costly than any sort of investment, right? Same thing with the content too. When I'm going over this right now for sales, it's the same thing that's going to apply to your content too. It's the same exact concept. Nobody talks about it. I don't know why, but now let's say you've done all that correctly. Now you're going to the part where it's like you're pitching someone, right? So what I like to do is I tailor it towards their needs. I've seen a lot of you guys, like I've watched some call recordings. I think, Chris, I've watched some from your end, watched a lot of other call recordings from a lot of you guys, or like everyone that I've coached. And I always see you guys pitching just like the deliverables, right? But that's the wrong way to go about it. So let's say keywords. Someone was like, oh yeah, they struggle with like knowing how much to eat. So if I'm pitching, I'm like, yeah, so you remember how you said you don't know like how much to eat, when to eat? So yeah, you'll be getting custom meal plans, so you don't have to figure out on your own and waste the time figuring out what to eat, when not to eat. And with that too, I know you said you didn't know what workouts to hit, what type of workout routine to follow. So after I make the meal plan for you, I'm going to log you into my custom software where you'll get tailor-made workouts that'll help you shred off that fat and put on that muscle. And that way you know what workout you should be hitting every day. Everything is tailored towards them. And I know you said as well, like sometimes we skip the gym because we're a bit unmotivated, but that's why there's going to be 24/7 text access. So if for whatever reason, bro, you're maybe not feeling like going to the gym, you shoot me a text. I'm going to get your ass in the gym. A lot of the times when you say something like that with a bit of humor, they should smile, right? And that's what you're aiming for. If they don't, it's all good. With that too, on top of that, we'll have even more accountability, and we'll be jumping on calls every single week to see how the progress is on us losing the weight, gaining the muscle, and see if we need to make any changes. Right there, I'm already like that pitch is practically like it fits every part of their needs. So there's no reason why they shouldn't do it. So all we're doing is we're linking the solution to their pain points. We remove all of their decision fatigue from them feeling like they can't do it on their own. They don't know what to do. And everything is custom towards them. Accountability. So they have no excuse to fall off. So now they have to be committed. And if there's weekly calls, now humans naturally perform better when someone is basically pushing them, tracking alongside with them, working with them, right? So you've pitched, and then you should close the sale after that. But if you get an objection, I want you guys to understand this, right? When a prospect objects, they're not like pushing back on you. They're just wrestling with their own fear out loud. So a lot of the times, if they say something and you get upset, you shouldn't, because that's just their way of thinking. That's their mentality. That's their mindset. And your job is to reframe that, to change that. So there's 5 different fears based on every objection. So 2 things. When there's an objection, there's 2 things that it comes down to: fear or logistical. Logistical meaning they don't have enough money or they don't have the funds. So your goal is to either get them to finance or work out a certain payment plan, right? That, and then after that, you should close. After that, every other objection is fear. It just shows up in many different ways, like uncertainty or whatever it may be. Like if you hear something like I have to talk to my wife, if any objection, it's all fear. It all comes down to fear, because if they knew they would see the result, they do it. So it all comes down to fear and uncertainty. And then these are all the 5 different types of fear, right? And this is what you guys want to handle, right? So just to kind of go back on this, right? The brain kind of prefers the current situation, even when it's painful, right? So most people kind of hear like this price of change. And then once they get a little bit fearful, it's human psychology. The brain defaults back to safety mode. Oh, that's too much of a risk. We can't do that. The default is always to just stay where they are right now, right? And even with that too, right? Loss aversion. It shows there was literally research, there were studies that were done on this that show that losses feel way more painful than how someone is gaining something feels good. So someone spending 2,000 is like the same thing as them losing 2,000. So it's like the pain of loss and the pleasure of gain. The pain of loss is always going to be more than the pleasure of gain. So like in their mind, they're like, oh, I'm losing 2,000. But they're not thinking about if they spend 2,000 or whatever your price is, that all the benefits that they'd be getting, and they'd be actually getting an ROI, return on investment. All they're thinking about is losing 2,000 because they're just thinking about the fear. So again, a large financial decision, especially if it's someone's first time investing in self-development, it's always going to trigger the brain's fear center. So rational thinking decreases. It's like the lizard brain takes over and says one word basically, which is like, oh, don't do it. And it's just all these reasons on why they can't do it. So what happens is the easiest thing for humans to do is give themselves reasons on why they can't do it. Chris, I know you've probably had it where they give one objection and another one, then another one, and it's just like they just don't want to do it. A lot of those times they're what's called smoke screens. You guys are wasting your time handling the real one. What I like to do is I just like to acknowledge it. Yeah, man, I completely understand. Dropping down to their level. If it's just logistical, you want to go over a payment plan, makes them, I guess, more comfortable, because if they don't have the money, they can't do it. And make sure you reconnect them to their why, right? If they pull away, I pull away too. So if they're saying any sort of objection, I always like to say, let's say it's a money objection. I say, okay, man, and money aside, like, would you still do it? Yeah, I would. Okay, but why would you do it? Oh, I do it because of the coaching and, the workouts, everything's costing me. That sounds good. That's not the answer you're looking for. That's a test. So what I like to do after that is, okay, man, but I guess why would you want to do that then on like a more personal level? Oh, I do it because, I dropped the weight, XYZ, whatever. And besides that question, I always like to ask too, just to show that the value is there and it's just fear. As I asked them, I guess money aside, do you believe everything we went over can help you accomplish XYZ goal? If they say yes, which is 99% of the time, that the value is there, that it's just fear now, because they know that they're going to get the result. So if they know that, why aren't they making a decision? Because they're fearful. So you reconnect back to their why, and you make the inaction feel basically scarier, because it is, right? And again, it's reframing it like that. So let's say you go with like what I just said with the money aside. After that, what I like to do is there's a bunch of different ways you can take it. If it's logistical, I'd be like, okay, man, so is it just that initial investment of 2K? Or like if there was a way to like possibly break down the payments, would there be anything else stopping you moving forward today? If they say no, there wouldn't. Okay, you find the payment plan, you close. They say it's an investment, then you know that it's either that they have the money, but it's fear. Sometimes they don't even have the money and it's fear. It's both. So it's still the same thing. It's just different wording. Still just going to be fear. So your goal again is to show them that the cost of inaction is way more. So remember how I said earlier that humans make decisions based on current pain and future pain. So right now, all they're thinking about is, oh, I'm losing this. I can't do it, right? They're in safety mode. They're a bit fearful. So I always acknowledge, completely get that, man, right? Like we were going over. And what I like to do is remember how we went earlier. If you guys, like, if it stuck out to you, when I showed the two paths, the reason why it's like either the yes or no, it's like that two path. I bring that up again. So yeah, man, I mean, there's always, I guess, two types of people when it comes to a situation like this. There's that one person who lets like that fear and uncertainty overcome themselves. And because of that, they don't make a change and they continue overweight and friends bullying them and them feeling powerless. But there's another person that is like, you know what? I know it's going to be a bit scary, a bit nerve-wracking, but they don't let their situation overcome them, and they overcome their situation. And because of that, they make XYZ changes and they feel like a better man. I guess, man, like One of those two people, like, who do you want to be like? That are obviously going to say the second one. Okay, but why the second one? Oh, because this person takes risk. Something like that. Right there. That's not it, though. They're not sold yet. Then you just flip it. Okay, man. And I guess what happens if we continue, keyword continue, being like the first person who, I guess, gives themselves reasons on why they can't, keeps pushing this off. Like, I guess, what do you think will happen if you continue being like that first person and you just don't make a change in the next 2 weeks, 2 months, even 2 years? By the way, when I say the 2 weeks, 2 months, always tailor it to how long they've been struggling for. They've been struggling for 6 months. I say 6 months or 6 weeks, 6 months, even another year from now. I always like to tailor it towards them. And they'd say, oh man, I probably wouldn't make a change. From there, then I like to say, so what decision do you think you have to make to put yourself in the best possible position to achieve XYZ results? And oftentimes, they're going to commit. But that's not even enough. I always say, not what you would do, but that future version of yourself who's lost the 50 pounds, who's way more confident, has its six-pack abs on the beach. Like, what would he do right here, right now? Would he find a way to commit? They're always going to say yes because you refrain them. So again, it goes back to what I was talking about, right? It's the logistical and the fear. Don't have the money, time, etc. It's all the same thing. Don't have the time, you reframe it. Time aside, would you still do it? Yeah, I would. Why? Same thing like I won over for the money. Then from there, it's like the same thing. The two types of people, that one person who lets time stop them and they don't find a way to make the time. And you just literally just be straight up because everyone has the same 24 hours. But it's like what you do with that time. Is that right? And they'll be like, yeah, that is true. It's just getting into a matter of priority. Same thing. Even if they say, I need to talk to my wife, I need to talk to my parents. Yeah, man, and you will talk to your wife and you will talk to your parents. But I guess you can come to them with good news or bad news. Like, you can come to them with like a problem of like, oh, like I have this thing and I don't know if I want to do it. And it's like you put the responsibility of your changes on someone else with less context. I guess in your eyes, like, whose responsibility is it to make these changes? Oh, it's mine. Okay, and what happens if you put that responsibility on someone else with less context? I guess, what do you think will happen? I mean, I probably wouldn't make the changes. Right there, it's reframing over and over again. Same thing. It's like everything I'm doing is literally the same thing, but for every single objection. It's the same thing I went over here. Not a problem, money aside. You still feel like we can get you to XYZ goal, right? I know I already went over it, and I know I had this slideshow here, but it's very, very simple once you understand how the human brain operates. Once you get this down, not only is your sales going to improve, but also everything else in your life, because everything in this life is sales. You and a woman, you with your family, you with your friends, you and your content, DMs, anything in life, it's all sales. But here, right here as well is a little bit more when it comes to handling objections, which is kind of what I went over, right? The binary personas for the time, and then you consequence them. Always same thing, but like different objection. Same thing here, right? One thing I want to tell with you guys as well is like if they just keep pushing it off over and over again, you've been objection handling for like 20, 30 minutes. At that point, it's going to get way more harder because their guard is up and it's like, who knows if they're going to pay. So if you have another call booked, just show up to that call. Just cancel with that guy. What I like to say is like, yeah, man, I mean, I apologize, man. I tried to help you get out of that way of thinking on that end, I failed. But I have to run to my next call. But it was nice meeting you, bro. I pull back from there. I don't just try to force the sale anymore. And even if I don't have a call booked, like if I'm objection handling for 30 minutes, it's not worth it for me. I don't even do that anymore. But for you guys, I would say the only reason why you should do that is to practice if you aren't good enough yet. So just practice if you want. That's the only plus, but other than that's just not worth it because a lot of the times these clients are going to be headache clients. They're going to not actually follow through. They'll probably charge back. So how I like to think about it is we just avoided a future chargeback. By the way, what I also like to do, which I forgot to mention earlier about like needing to ask the wife and parents, I go for the simple close. Like if they said no, would you still do it? Yeah, I still would. Okay, let's do it, man. We're in the right hands, bro. Let's run it up. You just close the sale simply like that. I want you guys to understand one more thing too. You don't necessarily need someone to say yes. You just need them to agree. Like when I make a payment plan, I say, okay, So they have, let's say they have 1.5K, and we went over everything we mentioned, like if there was a way to possibly break it down, et cetera, et cetera. Oh no, there wouldn't be anything else stopping me. Yeah, man. So just so I can help, how much do you have right now? Oh, I have 1.5K. Okay, cool, man. We can run 1,500 up front now and then 500 in 30 days. Does that sound better? Oh man, yeah, that does. Right there, you close the sale. It's just getting like an agreement statement. But yeah, if they still defer from like asking the wife or parent, they throw that off. So what I was kind of going back to, like the responsibility. One more thing I want to tell you guys is pre-handling the objections. So all these questions here, like the responsibility one, depends on the prospect. And as a salesperson, or like as your coach, you guys should be like a chameleon. You should know how to adapt to each different type of personality. So it's you shifting based on the person. If someone needs you to be a bit more upfront with them, be more upfront, be a bit more confrontational. If someone's a bit like, it's like a female, you have to be a bit more encouraging. Just understanding how humans operate, right? So this is something I want to tell you guys. Pre-handling is huge, like asking questions. One more thing, I don't know if I have it here. Probably not. Yeah, I don't. Is before the close, I always ask the people like on a scale 1 through 10. 10 being like, yo, Dylan, stop talking. I'm ready to make these changes. And 1 being, man, I'm about to leave the call. Like, where are you at on that scale? If they say anything but a 10, okay, cool, man. But why not a 10? Oh man, I don't know, man. It's probably just like the money. Right there, you found your objection, handle it. Very, very simple. And your job is never to win the objection. It's just to help them move past their own fear. So always expect every objection, right? If you're not expecting it, you're just going to lose frame. You're going to lose the sale. Don't forget that their emotion brought them here. So if they're fearful and you're like, yeah, bro, you're fat though, that's not going to work, right? They're in fear mode. And what I see from a lot of you guys is you try to justify how they're feeling with like logic. Like, yeah, man, is it fair that every decision led you to where you're at now? And then you just keep speaking over and over. No, you have to let them answer. They're fighting with themselves, and you have to let them basically solve their own problem. You guys are just asking the questions, right? So objection doesn't mean like there's no interest. It's just like internal conflict. So guys, just note this as well. After 10, 20 minutes, the closing odds are just going to drop even more. And like I said, not every call closes, but this is kind of like what I like to go over, like my entire 6-figure sales strategy. This is basically everything that I've learned. There's still a lot more too, but I'd be talking for hours and hours. But it's just a quick presentation that I made for you guys that I think would help.